What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. Sitting across from me this week and every week, with a great big hug and a kiss from me to you, it's Desra. Listen, I used up my Jurassic Park quotes already.
No, that's all right. I know sitting across from me, of course, is Brian Paul.
And every week on Why We Love PlayStation VR, we sit around and we discuss an old, classic, retro PlayStation VR game.
As retro as they get.
We are the only retro PlayStation VR podcast on the internet, for better or for worse. We blow the dust off of it. We take a look at it and see if the developers have given it any love since launch. So what game we're going to talk about this week?
Well, this week we're talking about Cadillacs and dinosaurs. Oh, wait. Dino Frontier.
That would have been a way better reference than Barney and Friends.
That's right.
Okay.
There's like 5 people who know what I'm talking about anyways. So
I'm one of them.
Yeah,
There's 3 more of you out there. Dino Frontier, released August 1st, 2017 from Uber Entertainment.
Yeah, right before they get into the whole personal taxi thing.
And I think that's working out much better for them. Honestly, I hear they're doing well.
Yeah.
So what kind of game is this?
It's a real-time strategy game, really, with a little bit of tower defense thrown in there too.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it has all the trappings of a real-time strategy game. You have units you control. You send them out to gather resources so you can buff up your soldiers to go out and fight battles for you.
Real-time strategy is a much better answer than the one I came up with.
Which was?
Alternate history, town building / resource management. It's a category.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, it is now.
But
I can't wait to see that GameStop.
it's like they're dividing their games into the genres, and like this is the only one in that genre.
It's like the secret. I don't know the secret categories in Netflix.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen that? It's like movies about left-handed soccer players who with homosexual parents in Japan.
It's like Netflix. Okay. You combined all the things that I watch into one movie. Well done. But Uber Games, not a company or development team that I was super familiar with or knew anything about, because before PlayStation VR came around, they made some iOS games, they made some Windows games, but then on October 13th, 2016, they made a game that a lot of people are familiar with.
Yes.
This is on one of the launch games for PlayStation VR. It's Wayward Sky.
Wayward Sky. Yep.
And I think that got a lot of positive reception, and then later on was not even August, September, October. I can't do math. Less than a year later, comes Dino Frontier. Very interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, in some ways it's surprising. In some ways it's kind of not. Like, I guess kind of getting to the end quickly. There's a lot of good ideas in this game. But it's not like
Dino Frontier.
Dino Frontier, yeah.
Okay.
With Dino Frontier, and it looks great, and the mechanics play well, but there's not a lot to the game.
I feel like you're about to rate it.
No, I know,
You're
right?
jumping to the
I know. So it's basically you are the big mayor, which is very cute. Like, they actually refer to you as Big Mayor, and you are this. I guess in the world of the game, you must actually be a giant, and you can.
It's true. I didn't even think about that. Like you are a character in this game.
Yeah. Did you hear the song? Did you listen to the song they play over the credits?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it says, "Oh yeah, he picked me up and saved me." So, I guess in the world of the game, you are really just this giant. That's the mayor, and you have this small collection of townsfolk that you build a town for them, all the while defending them against random wild dinosaurs, and eventually capturing and training some of those dinosaurs to work for you.
So the game starts off, and there's like a broken down caravan.
Yes.
And in the kind of like an empty world, like just like, okay, here's some like mountains around the side and stuff, and just like a big section of plains and
a diorama.
It feels very much like a diorama, or diorama, and but different. I'm trying to think, like different than like say Moss, right? That also felt very diorama like. This encourages you to take your move controllers, required 2 move controllers, push the move buttons, and like it just has the most perfect ability to manipulate the world that I've ever seen. Because Tethered had something similar.
I was just gonna say, Tethered has something similar, but it just didn't feel as smooth or well put together as this. Like, you can just kind of grab it, zing it.
It's super easy to grab it and then zoom into it and zoom out and twist and turn. So I was saying Squishies, which came out, just like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like, it's so, for some reason, it's so complicated to just maneuver the world, and it's the exact same thing. You're doing the exact same thing in Squishies. It just doesn't work as well.
You know what it felt like? Have you seen Minority Report?
Yeah, like a long time ago.
Yeah. when he's like zooming through the timelines. I felt like that. It was just that smooth. Like you zoom in, close it. Did you actually ever throw the world?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You just slide back. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, which is funny because earlier today I had read somewhere that the game's creative director or the game's director, Aka, as he goes by.
Hello.
Hey Aka. Thanks for talking to me. Apparently, I read somewhere that for the game director, he actually suffers from motion sickness.
Okay.
Motion sickness in VR. That is something that like hits him. And so my very first question was, well, this was something that you struggled with way back with Wayward Sky. Mm-hmm. How are you doing with that now? Because you and we have a weekly discussion about your progress, your journey through motion sickness, your ability to conquer it slowly. And he's taking the opposite approach.
Okay.
As a game designer, he wants to design games for the most number of people and make sure that it's comfortable for everybody.
Right.
So he's intentionally not trying to overcome his motion sickness.
I can absolutely see where he's coming through. I had a discussion today with a friend of ours, Nate. Hey, actually, and one of the few guests we've had on the show.
Oh, that Nate.
Yep. Right on. And we talked about motion sickness. We kind of talked about my journey. Is like that was one thing that I do feel a little bad about because I have seen some progress. So I don't have it. It's not quite as bad as when I first started. So I'm not as sensitive to it as I used to be. I mean, I still get it, and there are still games. We talked about that still trigger me.
Yeah.
But I totally understand and respect where he's coming from on that.
Yep. Yeah. Well, so let's see. We've talked about how you move around the world, right? So you never see your character,
right?
But you slide around the world, you do your thing, but like,
and you do this.
You do. It's what is the moment to moment gameplay? What exactly are you doing?
You're basically picking up the little townsfolk and you're putting them down where you want them to go. To either to gather resources, or eventually they get hungry, or they get bored, or they get tired.
They're so needy.
They are, and they need to get drunk.
Right, if they're unhappy, you send them to the saloon.
Yep.
And if they luckily this is not tethered, and they don't jump off the edge of the world when they get depressed. Right. Yep. You just get them drunk, and everything's fine with the world again.
And they're also kind of a little smart. Like if you don't do it in time, they'll just figure it out and head over there on their own.
Yeah.
There are packs of wild dinosaurs, and if your guys are out collecting resources, they will get attacked, and they can fight the dinosaurs, or if it's like, oh geez, it's too dangerous, you just pick them up and rescue them. Which is nice, unlike a lot of these kind of like real-time strategy games where you send your units out and they're getting attacked. By the time you realize it's done, you can't save them or anything.
It gets really like strenuous, like almost a little stressful very quickly, I think, because what you're doing is you're building these structures, and I absolutely love that once you decide to build the structure, they go, okay, pick up this hammer and just hit the structure to build it up, and it's so stupid and irrelevant, but it just feels so good to just take a hammer in VR and smash the crap out of something.
Did any of your townsfolk get in the way of the hammer?
Oh no, I didn't smush anybody.
Yeah, they're not happy. They don't die.
Oh, good.
But they like yell and panic. So which you rightfully would do if a giant hammer came from the sky and smashed you.
But the first things people are doing is like you're sending them out, and like you said, they're chopping down wood. They're like harvesting fruit and stuff, and they're doing all these different things. But they don't initially like help you out with collecting all that stuff. So you've got all these refineries in town. Like you're taking the wood and you're throwing it into like the lumber refinery or the mineral refinery, whatever you want to call it, and then the mill maybe.
Yeah,
that's probably a thing.
Sure.
Yeah. And then on top of that, there's like a food processing plant. Again, I don't know what you want to call it, but like if you kill a dinosaur, then you go take the raw meat and you throw it in there, and now you're feeding the community.
Right.
But what happened? And then even worse is once they chop down the trees, there's like this stump, and you have to like grab a watering can and water it so it'll grow back, so you can use that resource again.
Yeah.
So you start looking around being like, oh crap, I gotta water everything, but I also gotta collect all this stuff. I gotta throw it in the refinery, and I gotta take somebody and actually put them at the refinery to like make them do the job so that you're feeding the town, and I gotta make sure it gets a little hectic quickly.
Until?
Because at first it's kind of fun. Be like, I'm picking up the wood and throwing it in there, and picking it up and throwing it in there, and picking it up and throwing it in there, and then you tame your first dinosaur.
Right. Yeah, and that's the kind of special units you're given is you tame the dinosaurs, and they end up helping you with these activities. So one of the first ones you get, basically, it follows around. Actually, no. I think the first one is the Gallimimus, that basically kind of just walks around the town and lays an egg.
Oh, right.
Yep, and it's just kind of this constant generation of food resource there, which is important in the early steps of the game. Resources are pretty scarce, but eventually you get other ones that will follow. Basically, the townsfolk who are collecting the food, it'll follow them around and basically toss the food into the food processing plant for you. And there's another, Ankylosaurus, Ankylosaur.
Are these real dinosaur names?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm such a moron. I don't know any of this.
Yeah, the Ankylosaurus.
Wow.
That's the one that will follow you around and kind of toss all the wood into the sawmill for you.
And that's as soon as that happens, you're like, oh, okay, stress relief is on the way, right? And so it seems like at that point, and this is pretty early on in the game, it's like that dinosaur is collecting the wood for you, and then another dinosaur you tame collects like the food for you. And all these things, the town just starts to running itself.
A little bit, yeah. Some of them need a little more help. There's the Brachiosaurus, which goes out and collects water to rewater the thing, but it takes so long for it to walk all the way over to the water, get the water all the way, walk back. You have either two choices: just say, "Screw it, I'm going to water it myself," or pick him up and throw him to the lake. And when he drinks, pick him up again and carry him over.
Which also, also very fun. I love picking things up and throwing them in VR, especially when they're dinosaurs.
That was one of my first notes. Is like this game passes the Brian test.
Yeah, oh man! As soon as I had to build something by smashing a hammer, I was like, "This is fantastic." But there's also some other things going on. There's bandits like to raid your town.
Yeah, bandits will raid your town, and you can send, you can either send the settlers by themselves, the dinosaurs by themselves, or you can have the settlers ride the dinosaurs and, buff the damage they can do, and which actually leads to a very satisfying moment where you can, you want that settlers to go start working again. You pick up the dinosaur and physically pluck the settler off the dinosaur, which, it was a nice touch.
Yeah, I gotta say, like the maneuvering the world, manipulating the world, building things, and just kind of just all of the UI in general.
Yeah,
it feels very, very natural. I don't think right away it feels totally natural. Mm-hmm. Like I think you're like, oh, what is this menu over here? What does this do over here?
Yeah.
Oh wait, I'm grabbing that. Now I'm holding something. Now I got to pick something off of this. But man, like an hour into it, you're like, okay, yeah, no problem. I'm just doing these things. No problem at all. And I think it's a great solution to a HUD in VR.
Yeah, and I think it really shows the potential for what a real-time strategy game could be. And it does deal with, I grew up, one of my favorite games was StarCraft. I sunk way too much time into that game. And, you can only really get good at it once you start mastering, hotkey commands and learning how to use the keyboard to do all the work for you. This kind of does away with all that. It makes it very, very easy to just interact with your units, which is really what you want to do. Interact with your units.
Put that on a t-shirt.
But that's the main screen you play in. There are two other areas that the game happens in.
Very true.
There's the abandoned mine, which is kind of like your own personal little mayor's hangout, where you can do a little farming and grow some extra resources and do a little mining and get some gold and silver.
Yeah, it's the only place where you can get it.
Well,
you can't get it in the town, at least.
Correct. Yeah, you can't get gold and silver. You can't get mineral resources in the town. So that's a nice. Every couple minutes you can go in there, plant your seeds, harvest them, and then come back a couple minutes later and it'll all grow. The other is the mine.
Yes.
Which is where our real-time strategy game suddenly turns into a tower defense game.
And I have to say, by that point in the game, a welcome change. Because here's the thing, right? At the beginning, like I said, things start to feel frantic, and then you get used to it, and things start settling down.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know how long this realization took for me to set in, but that's a siren on our side, by the way, not yours. The realization that this game has the illusion of freedom sets in around the 2-hour mark, I think, where you go, I don't know if there was any other way to do this game.
No.
It says, okay, hey, build what you want, do what you want, to pick which settler you want to come join your town.
Yeah.
There's this illusion of options, illusion of freedom, that really there is no options at all. And you are at the end of the game, 4 hours in.
Yep.
4-hour game. 4 hours?
Yeah, 3 to 4 hours. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
I think my town probably looked identical to your town.
Yeah.
Looks identical to your town, in your town, in your town. There's very little freedom actually given to the player.
Right, and the choices you're given don't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, you can put the food reclamation place here or here. Does it make a difference? Absolutely not.
No.
And as far as like those special units you can get, the dinosaurs, you can only get one of each kind at a time.
Yep.
And it's really, really hard to make them die. Like they can, but you have to really have kind of messed things up for that to happen. And then
if they die, you just go get another one.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. Like one of the core parts of a real-time strategy game is deciding which resource is important to me now. Do I want to spend my time building up my base, or building up my defenses, or building up my economy, depending on the kind of game.
Yeah.
And this, you don't really have those kind of choices. You build this one of this unit at this time, in a very real way. Especially the town part of it just feels like a long tutorial.
Oh my god, absolutely. It's a 3.5, 4 hour tutorial for sure.
Yeah, I was just waiting for it, and now try building this. Now try building this. I was waiting for it to say, okay, now you're on your own, and that really never happened.
No.
So then, but yeah, we do get to the mine. Right? We get to the tower defense, and you have to pick 2 of your settlers, and you're basically doing this juggling between having them mine, but then the Bandit King, which is actually one of the funniest, more charming parts of the game. I won't spoil it too much, but it's actually really kind of cute. But then eventually these waves, up to 20 waves of bandits and dinosaurs, come in and attack. And so you have to juggle between setting up defensive points and then manning those defensive points with your settlers or mining. So it's like, okay, I'm going to leave one mining so I can get the other one kind of jump them from place to place.
Right.
And you can... and this is where the one point where the little strategy starts getting involved. Like, do I want to just dump all my time into mining as much as I can, or do I want to use those resources to buff my defenses so that later I can spend more time mining?
Yep. Not. I wouldn't say terribly difficult, no matter what you do.
No, it really isn't. And the other thing is, you don't actually have to finish and defeat all the waves to beat the game.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, I didn't. Okay. So the only reason I know I didn't, because I was able to get enough resources to get to the end boss. You have to build basically a carriage to get to his level, and once, like Ryan said, once things start kind of running themselves, pretty soon, like, you just have more resources than you know what to do with, and it's just a matter of getting. And I basically found myself going to the bandit lair, or the mine, and just mining like crazy for the first round or two, and then just leaving.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely did that.
And then you just come back in, and then if you do that a few rounds, you have more than enough minerals to get the end boss. And I was not, I was wondering, do I have enough resources to beat the final boss? Yes, you do.
You do. For sure. The game makes sure of it for the most part. Yeah. So that pretty much covers all the gameplay.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot other to do than that. It all feels really good, that's for sure. And it all looks really good. I think it looks.
Yeah. Can we not only does it look good, like the character design is great, the art design is great, it scales really well too. We said you can zoom in, and you can go from your characters being these tiny little dots to being, virtually this big right in front of your face.
You're suddenly on the ground level, right there with them,
and they still look fantastic.
They do.
Yeah.
It's decidedly low polygon and pretty simple looking graphics, but they look so nice. The art design is just fantastic in this game.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those low res design as a choice, but it works.
Yeah, there's a day-night cycle, which is pretty irrelevant for the most part,
pretty fast.
But it also just adds to the whole nothing ever gets boring looking, because okay, now it's nighttime, oh now it's daytime, oh now it's dusk, oh now it's raining. Yeah, and so there's it's constantly things look slightly different than they did just a minute ago, so it keeps things from getting boring. I think just as important as the graphics, the sound design, the music, the voiceovers. I'm like, who do they get to do all this stuff? I know. Because the voice acting is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's. I was just playing. Was I playing? Let's equate it to something else. Playing Guns and Stories.
Okay.
Another Western themed game, but Guns and Stories is a game that wants you to pay attention to its story. That's half of the title. Hey, here's some guns, and also here's stories. But the stories are this is pretty not awful voice acting.
Yeah.
But like it's half of your game. Why isn't it great voice acting?
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's it. Like there's not a whole lot of story here.
Nope.
But there's original music written for the game, at least a couple different songs, right?
And there's a really just gravelly Western sounding narrator who's there the whole time, who sounds fantastic. And during your load screen is basically a campfire, has all these great little bits and, kind of some funny songs or kind of jokes and things like that. It's
really well written.
It's written well. The voice acting is great. I mean, there is so much to like about this game.
Yeah. So it's a very small team that made this game.
Yes.
That's the other thing I really took from talking to Aka today. It's Wayward Sky was made by like 7 people.
Yeah.
Dino Frontier made by like the same 7 people.
Okay.
And in my book, it's a substantial step up in terms of like quality.
Oh yeah.
Right. Wayward Sky is a fine game. It's a good game. I know a lot of people really liked it. But man, Dino Frontier, just like in terms of like the audio video component, it's just a more seamless experience, and it doesn't really even seem like the same team, just because it just feels more polished.
Yeah.
So a heads up, by the way, these same 7 people, they left Uber Entertainment and started Outer Loop Games.
Okay.
And they are the developers. Exactly, of one of my most anticipated 2019 PlayStation VR games, Falcon Age. And I was like, how is this possible that it's the same 7 people that made Wayward Sky, that made Dino Frontier, and now making what seems like a game with a much bigger scope?
Yeah.
Falcon Age. And
they're only learning each iteration.
And that's exactly it. They're learning how to make games better, and they're learning how to make games better as a team.
Yeah.
And I find that absolutely fascinating. So I'm very curious to see what Falcon Age turns out to be.
I would say through all the positives, the fact that it's super polished, the fact that it just is really easy to play. Not easy to play as in the challenge level, but just easy to play as in the game does not get in the way of you playing the game. Yeah. With all that, the biggest disappointment is that it is so short and there's so little to actually do. In many, many ways, like I said, this kind of feels like a tutorial. It feels like a demo of like, oh, here's the demo of the much larger game that you will be playing soon.
Yeah.
And that never materializes.
Yeah, in fact, like once the credits roll, it sort of puts an end cap on things. It's like, hey, that's it.
You're done.
You're done.
You did the game.
Right? Like why? I don't know. I don't know how difficult it would have been to been like, okay, you beat the game. Now you've unlocked endless mode, where it's just nonstop. There's bandits raiding all the time. There's dinosaurs always coming in. There's bigger and more bait. The dinosaur lords to come in and get multiple dinosaurs and get multiple refineries and just start building up your town, because you've got this gigantic map.
I know,
but you can only build in this small little part, and I just wanted to expand my town, make it as big and as unique as possible. As I want it to be. I mean, I don't need it to be Sim City, but I want to be able to show my creativity when it came to city planning or building and building up all these structures.
And there are lots of little hints that was planned too. Like if you pay attention, like in the mine, the mine area, there's kind of like the main mine where you put your the settlers to actually mine from there.
Yeah.
There are, I think, 7 or 8 slots around the mine that you can put your 2 people in. But there's no way, as far as I can see, that you can get more than 2 people to get to the mine.
Yeah.
So it seems like, okay, at some point there was a thought of you will get bigger and you'll be able to load this up with 8 people. And there are a couple of other things like that where it's just you get the feeling they have such a great foundation and just never went further with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can again, classic real-time strategy thing is here's your units, here's how you move them around, and now your challenge is gather this much of this kind of resource or capture this much of this kind of dinosaur or something like that, where now you have to start making those decisions I really need to double down on the wood production now, so I want to spawn another ankylosaur. But that just never materializes.
Keep throwing out all these dinosaur terms. I'm getting jealous.
Well, it's the same one, and it's ankylosaur, and that's kind of a shout out to another podcast that shall not be named. Yeah. But
so I mean, we're halfway there. Do you want to just rate it?
Sure. Yeah, let's rate it. So our rating scheme is pretty simple. One is, if you have a PSVR, this absolutely has to be in your library. It's just some of the best, the most fun you can have with. Exactly.
That's us
yes.
again.
Yeah, it's something that should be part of your collection. It's fantastic. Two is, sure. If it's the genre you particularly like, or if it's on sale at a great price and you got some money burning a hole in your pocket, go ahead, pick it up. We're not going to make fun of you for it. And number 3 is no. Do not buy this. Friends don't let friends buy crap. We need to vote with our wallets and tell... I just have vote with our wallets stuck in my head now.
Yeah, you got to stop that.
I know. We have to vote with our wallets and tell the developers that we deserve better. So 1, 2, or 3. What do you think?
So one of the things we do on this show is re-examine a game and see what's changed and see what the developers and see what the publishers have changed since launch.
Right.
Well, this game has been out for 16 months.
Yes.
It has not received a single patch. It has not received a single update.
No.
It is very seldom on sale. I don't know if I've ever seen it on sale, to be honest with you. And maybe it has been, but it is 16 months later, and it's still at $30, still at the launch price. Mm-hmm. Now, there are plenty of other games that I've played that only last 3 or 4 hours that are at similar price points.
Yeah.
But this unfortunately, because of the way it's structured, has zero replayability.
Right.
Like, unless you just want to play through again and do the exact same thing again, you're going to find out very quickly that you're like, oh man, that illusion of freedom that I had initially really was just that, an illusion.
Yeah.
And so I got halfway through my second playthrough, and I was like, I don't have no desire to do this again.
Oh yeah, I didn't even consider a second playthrough. Yeah.
So the thing is like it's not a bad price considering that everything is so well done about it.
Right.
It oozes quality and it just feels good, it looks good, it sounds good, and you can just tell this. I mean, there's a lot of love put into this game. But we were screaming for an update. We were screaming for a patch. We were saying, give us some form of replay, to give us an endless mode, give us something, and like over at Uber Entertainment, it was just silent.
Yeah.
So here we are, 16 months later, the game's still $30. I think it was expensive at launch.
Yep.
I think it's still expensive, but I still think somehow, after all this time, it's a fantastic game, which is pretty much our definition of a 2.
Yeah.
This is a great game. It is not going to be the best real-time strategy game. However, it might be the best alternate history dinosaur town-building resource management game you'll play. If you can get this game for like $15, you're really, really going to enjoy like all 3 or 4 hours with it. So this is absolutely a 2. I played through it again today after 16 months, and I was like, this is really fun.
Yeah, I find myself in the really weird situation where there are so many games where, like, there's all these things we need to make excuses for. Well, there's this, but it's still a really great game.
Yeah.
This is almost the inverse of that. It's like everything about this is great. Graphical quality, UI, all those things sound design, voice acting, all those things are there. They're fantastic. They're put together, but the game is lacking.
Yeah.
The actual.
It's over before it begins.
The gameplay is great, but there's not a lot of game to support it. So it's a really odd situation. So I'm definitely going to echo you too, although I will raise you this. This is a game that is screaming for DLC.
Oh, absolutely.
So right now I'm going to say it's a 2, but if all of a sudden Uber wakes up and was like, oh, we could make a ton of more money if we actually added a game to this, mechanic. So I'm going to say with 2 right now, but I am very, very eager and willing and ready to totally revise this if they change anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
But yeah, it's one of the best made games we've played. It's just missing the game.
No, I'm totally with you.
Yeah.
The problem is I think that since they've gone radio silent and it's been 16 months, I think the chances are pretty unlikely at this point that we're going to see more Dino Frontier.
And pretty much the dev team who made the game no longer works for Uber anyways.
Right.
So
and that's what a great what a great side note here for what a great way to end the show by saying okay, like maybe these guys have nothing to do with Uber anymore and they have nothing to do with Dino Frontier anymore.
Right.
But holy crap, like the entire time I was playing Dino Frontier, I was like, man, I would love to see what Dino Frontier 2 looks like.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know how Falcon Age really plays. It doesn't seem anything like Dino Frontier, but I definitely want to see more from this team. So I'm glad that Outer Loop exists. I'm glad that their game is coming in 2019, and I'm very curious to see how that turns out.
Although now that you mention it, I can see some sort of stylistic and artistic similarities. Like, all right, sure. I can see where they're coming from.
Yeah.
So
that pretty much does it for another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. As always, we want to know what you thought of Dino Frontier.
Yeah.
Have you seen it on sale? Because we certainly have not seen it on sale very often.
Is there something big we're missing? Is there like a check mark somewhere? It's like, okay.
No, there's not.
You finished the tutorial. Click here to play the game.
We didn't miss anything. No, I reviewed the crap out of this game.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping.
What did you think about it? And also, what other games do you want us to talk about? We definitely have quite a list of games that we need to cover.
Yeah.
But we're getting through them one by one. Just
turns out there's a lot of games for this system.
Turns out, yeah. We've got years of games ahead of us to talk about.
Seriously, for anyone who's still saying like there are already enough games on PSVR, you're just wrong at this point.
Yeah. All right, you guys, for another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR, I'm Brian Paul.
I'm Dez.
And we'll see you next week.